This technology focuses on their morphology, like earthworms morphology and anatomy, ecology, and role in soil health and ecosystem. Today here we are studying about the morphology and anatomy of earthworms and how these earthworms are useful for our ecosystem. And as I already introduced about the composting or vermi technology, how we will prepare the biofertilizer with earthworms. Those things today we are going to discuss. Before going to the internal subject, first we have to know about the earthworm. The common name of the Peritima postuma is earthworm. So, as just I told you, the study of earthworms is called as oligoketology and lumbricology. This mainly focuses on their morphology, anatomy, ecology, and role of earthworms in soil health and ecosystem. Here, first we have to read the morphology and anatomy. So before going to the morphology and anatomy, the systematic position of earthworms belongs to phylum Annelida, class Oligoketa, genus Peritima, species Postuma. So before going to the habitat, these are nocturnal in habit and live in damp soil. Means the humus-rich soils of lawns and gardening, etc. In dry weather, they burrow inside deeper to the soil to avoid the dryness. Their niche is a herbivorous. They will not depending upon any insects or earthborne organisms. So it is purely herbivore and macro decomposer and is important as a source of food for birds. It is also helping soil aeration and increase the soil fertility. And when coming to the external characters of the earthworm, the body structure, earthworms have a segmented cylindrical body with a reddish brown in color. And the body is divided into segments, each with its own set of organisms. You can see here. And clitellum, a granular tissue called clitellum, is present in mature earthworms, distinguish their uh, anterior side and posterior side, anterior and posterior ends is distinguished after the after the a granular tissue became clitellum. That clitellum is presented in mature earthworms that distinguishes the anterior and posterior sides. And when coming to the, as just I told you, this a granular clitellum is situated in 14 to 16 segments. It forms cocoon during the reproduction. So the body is long, narrow, and cylindrical in shape. Length may be reaches up to 150 millimeter, and body color is brown. Anterior end is pointed, while the posterior end is blunt. And body is divided into 100 to 140 segments called metamers. The anteriormost segment is prostomium. Here you can see the diagram of prostomium. Mouth is crescentic aperture. Present at the anterior end. The segment containing mouth is called peristomy. Setae are present at all the segments except first and last. Each setae is embedded in setal sac. And the female genital pore is situated in 14th segment, that is ventral surface, while male genital pore is presented in 18th segment. Meaning, here you can see earthworm are called as hermaphrodites because, as just we discussed, female genital pore is situated in 14th segment, whereas male genital pore is situated in 18th segment. That's why these earthworms is known as hermaphrodites because they possess both the male and female reproductive organs in same end. So, as just we discussed, genital openings we can see at 14th and 18th segment. And why we need setae? We need setae or bristles that are presented on most segments are aid in locomotion for the movement. And the earthworm feeds on organic matter in the soil when uh, the food is sucked by the pharyngeal region, pharynx, and the oesophageal glands add calcite to neutralize acidity of the soil. Means it changes the pH of the soil. And the digestive system have a complete, this earthworm has a complete digestive system with a mouth, pharynx, esophagus, crop, gizzard, intestine, and anus. And the excretory system is earthworms use nephridia, which are similar to kidneys in humans, to excrete the waste. And when coming to the circulatory system, earthworms have a closed circulatory system with blood, uh, blood vessels and capillary. So, before going to the internal parts, what is the role of earthworms in the ecology and role in the ecosystem? Now, before going to that, first we have to finish this uh, blood things like earthworms. As just we discussed, the food is grinded by the horny lining of gizzard because this contains the gizzard and is absorbed in the intestine, Undigested food materials passes through anus and is deposited as a worm castings. The earthworm breathes by diffusion of gases through its moist skin, and the circulatory system, just now we discussed. The blood contains the hemoglobin, which transports oxygen throughout the body. Basically, circulatory system of a closed type, and earthworms has no sense organs, but they can sense the light intensity by small light sensitive cells found mainly on the upper skin surface of the body. They can also sense vibrations and chemicals by the means of tactile or chemoreceptors. The earthworms exhibit undulating movements which takes place by alternate contraction and relaxation of circular and longitudinal muscles of each segment. As we discussed, uh, the setae is setae or bristles are presented on the most segmented and aid in the locomotion. And earthworms are hermaphrodites. We already discussed that, but they reproduced by cross fertilization. Though they are the hermaphrodites, they reproduce by cross fertilization. Um, Before going to the next topic, here we already discussed the general characteristics of earthworm. That's what it is belongs to phylum Annelida, because earthworms, which is belongs to which includes segmented worms. That's why we consider uh, this under the phylum Annelida, and it belongs to the class Clitellata, a group of segmented worms with a clitellum comes under Clitellata, and order Lumbricidae, which includes um, these earthworms, and genus, the most widely known and studied species in the Lumbricus terrestris. So that this genus is Lumbricus terrestris, and here now we are studying about genus Peritima, species Postuma. We have this type of earthworms, and when coming to the digestive system of the earthworm, here digestive system of the earthworm, which consisting of the alimentary canal and glands along with the physiology of the digestion. Here the digestive system have a complete digestive system with a mouth, pharynx, esophagus, crop, gizzard, intestine and anus. Here alimentary canal is long and straight, that extending from mouth to anus. It consisting of uh, this type of following parts, like mouth presented in the first segment, and uh, buccal cavity or buccal cavity that presented in the second, third segment or the middle of the third segment, and pharynx, third to fourth segment, esophagus, 5 to 7th segment, and gizzard, 8 to 9th segment, stomach, 9 to uh, uh, 9 or 10 to 14 segments, and intestine presented extended up to 15th to the last segment, except anus. Anus is the last segment that comes to the excretory system. So here you can see one, mouth and buccal cavity, pharynx, esophagus. See here, ninth, 8th, ninth, 10th, gizzard, like ninth to 10th, gizzard. And stomach, here inside the stomach, uh, part of intestine and intestinal cacum. And here you can see the presence of lymph gland in the segment of 26 to 27, and at the end of the 29 or 28, and the intestinal lumen presented in the segments like 29, 30, 31. This is about elementary canal. Mouth. It is a crescentic aperture situated in the first segment below the prostomium. Mouth leads into a buccal cavity. Ingestion of food takes place through it. Buccal cavity. It is a short, wider, thin-walled tube extending from second to third or middle of third segment. It consisting of two kinds of muscles. They are protractile muscle and retractile muscle. Buccal cavity protrude out through mouth with the help of special muscle for holding the food particles during the feeding. Buccal cavity leads into spacious organ called pharynx. A pharynx, it is small and swollen, wider, thick-walled, pear-shaped chamber which extends up to fourth segment. It is wider than buccal cavity. It is distinguished from the buccal cavity by means of constriction. It has the pharyngeal gland located in the dorsal salivary chamber. Pharyngeal gland is composed of many chromophil cells which produces saliva containing proteolytic enzymes called protease and mucin. Mucin, which makes the food into soft, and protease, which converts the protein into amino acid. And coming to the esophagus, it is esophagus is a narrow, thin-walled tubular structure that extending from fifth to seventh segment. This esophagus has no glands. It can passes the food particles from pharynx to gizzard, which leads to gizzard. Gizzard is a oval shaped and thick walled and highly muscular organ which lays in 8th to ninth segments. It is the hardest part of the alimentary canal. Due to the presence of inner lining of the cuticle, it also possesses a chitinous teeth-like projections. It helps in grinding or crushing food, so acts as a grinder during the feeding. Stomach. Gizzard leads to short, narrow, thin-walled, highly vascular tubular structure called stomach that extends from ninth or 10th segments to 14th segments. It is wider than esophagus. It has calciferous glands which helps in neutralization of food by calcification process. Stomach leads to intestine. The granular cell of stomach produces a proteolytic enzyme for digestion of protein. When coming to the intestine, it is a long, a wide and thin-walled tubular tubular structure which extends from a 15th segment to the last segment except the anus. Its inner lining is ciliated and vesicular folded and granular. Its intestinal lining is folded to form villi. One of the villi becomes larger and well developed than other called typhlosole, which runs mid dorsally from 27th segment to 25th segment. Typhlosole that divides the intestine region into three regions. Those are pre-typhlosolar region, typhlosolar region, and post-typhlosolar region. When coming to the pre-typhlosaur region, it extends up to 15 segment to 26 segment. So it is the first part of the intestine. It consisting of the villi but no typhlosaur. In 26th segment, there is a pair of short and conical lateral outgrowth called intestinal ceca, which extends upward to 23rd segments. Intestinal ceca produces amylase, which helps in carbohydrate digestion. Typhlosolar region, it is the second or middle part of the intestine which extends from 27th segment to last from the 25th segment. It has both the villi and typhlosole. The typhlosole is highly vesicular and a granular fold that increases the absorptive surface area of the intestine. When coming to the last typhlosaur region, such is post-typhlosaur region, it is the last part of the intestine laying in the last 23rd to 25th segment in front of anus. It is called a rectum. It lacks villi and typhlosole. It contains small pellets of mud which are thrown out through the anus to form casting. Anus, it is a circular opening in the last segment called anal segment. Undigested food materials are released out through the anus in the form of a warm casting. When coming to the digestive glands, here in earthworm, it contains a different types of digestive glands that is associated with the alimentary canal of the earthworm. What are they? A pharyngeal gland, a gastric gland, intestinal gland, and intestinal ceca. When coming to the physiology of the digestion, a digestion is the process, it's a biochemical process in which the complex organic food is broken down into simple form and soluble and diffusible form in the presence of respective enzymes. Here the earthworms are feed upon all kinds of organic humus and debris such as decaying leaves and seeds, a protozoan and different types of things presented in the soil that can be decayed by the earthworms. They also feed directly on leaves, grasses and other vegetation also. During the feeding, the buccal cavity is protrude out that help of protractile and retractile muscle. Then the food is drawn in the mouth. The indigested food enters into pharynx through the buccal cavity. The dorsal chamber of the pharynx consisting of pharyngeal gland, which is composed of chromophil cell, which produce saliva that containing mucin and protease. The duty of mucin here is that lubricates the food, and protease, which converts the protein into amino acid. The food then pass through the esophagus into the gizzard. When grinding or crushing of food material takes place into fine state due to the contraction of a circular muscles of a gizzard. The grinded food material enters into the stomach, where the neutralization of food taken place by calcification process. Also, um, there are the completing digestion of protein by proteolytic enzymes taken place. Then now the food material enters into the intestine. In the intestine, intestinal cilia produce amylase, which converts the starch into glucose. In intestine, several enzymes are secreted and acts on the substrate as like this, like a protease converts the protein into amino acid, amylase that converts the starch into two molecules of glucose, that is two molecules of maltose, and cellulase or cellulose into that converts the cellulose into glucose. Chitinase that digests the chitin of exoskeleton of the insects. Lipase that converts the fats into fatty acids, and glycerol. Digestion occurs mostly in the intestine, and the digested food is absorbed by the villi and then pass into bloodstream through the capillaries. The undigested food and the soil are released out in the form of casting through the anus. When coming to the circulatory system, earthworms possess a closed circulatory system in which blood always follows in vessels, and never comes in direct contact with the tissue. The system consisting of several tubes and vessels and blood glands and blood. The arrangement of the different vessels is it's a complicated, and that in the first 13 segments differs from that of the rest of the segment. Internal, there are few longitudinal vessels acting as a collecting and distributing vessels, which are connected with one another by some transverse vessels that acts as a heart. In this context, the sake of convenience, the circulatory system of the earthworm is described according to the segmental arrangement. Here you can see the structure of the blood vascular system in the anterior 13 segments in the body. Here it is the model picture of peritoneum. Circulatory system in the first 13 segments of the earthworm contains a dorsal vessel. In the first 13 segments, the dorsal vessel acts as a distributing vessel and extends up to the cerebral ganglion. Uh, it gives off branches that supply the blood to the anterior regions of the body. When coming to the ventral vessel, here you can see the ventral vessel. Ventral vessel, this one. This ventral vessel that extends up to anteriorly up to second segment. It supplies the blood to a ventral body wall, a septal nephridia, and reproductive organs. It gives a pair of ventro tegumentary vessel in each segment. A supraesophageal vessel. It is a very short vessel, extending up to a segments 9 and 13. It collects the blood from gizzard and stomach. Lateral esophageal vessel. These vessels originate from the bifurcation of subneural vessel at the 14th segment. They continue anteriorly along the lateral sides of the esophagus. They collect blood from lateral regions of the gut, body wall, septa, and seminal vesicle. A ring vessel, the wall of the stomach between segments of 10th and 13th bears dozens of circular vessels in each segment. These vessels carry blood from lateral esophagus to the supraesophageal. And in the region are three large longitudinal vessels runs parallel to each other and are a dorsal vessel. It runs long and mid a dorsal line of the body and just above alimentary canal. It acts as a collecting vessel and in each segment it receives a pair of intestinal vessels that brings blood from the intestine to intestine and a commissural vessel that running along with the posterior border of each septum that collecting the blood from skin and nephridia. The wall of a dorsal vessel is muscular and its lumen is provided with a pair of valves in each segment which are directed forward and inward to prevent backflow of blood. Ventral vessel, this long vessel that runs along the mid-ventral and mid-ventral line beneath the intestine that distributes the blood through the a pair of ventro-tegumentary branches, one on each side of each septum. These vessels pierce the septum, run upward and supply the blood to inner body wall and integumentary nephridium. Each vessel also gives a septonephridial branch which runs on the anterior face of the septum, supplying blood to septal nephridia. A median ventrointestinal branch that supply the blood to the intestine. In the lumen of the ventral vessel, walls are absent. Subneural vessel, it is a long, slender and vessel extending up to uh, from posterior end to the 14th segment and running along with the mid-ventral line beneath the nerve cord. It is a collecting vessel and in each segment it collects the blood by a pair of ventral branches from ventral part of the skin. The subneural vessel is linked to the dorsal vessel by a part of commissural vessels in each segment. The vessel bifurcates in the 14th segment into two lateral esophageal vessels. Blood plexus of the intestine. In earthworm, the intestinal wall is traversed by an internal external network of capillaries. These capillaries are connected with the ventrointestinal and dorso-intestinal vessels. Heart in earthworm, the dorsal and ventral vessels are connected to each other in segments like 7th, 9th, 12th, and 13th by means of transverse vessels, which are commonly known as heart. However, the anterior pair situated in the 7th, 9th segments are called lateral hearts, while the vessels present in the 12th, 13th segments are called lateral esophageal hearts, as they communicate dorsally with the dorsal supraesophageal vessels. The hearts are provided with valves that open in single direction under electron microscope. Four uh, layers like epithelial tissue, connective tissue, circular and longitudinal muscle layers, and vascular intima are observed in the wall of heart of the earthworm. And coming to the anterior loop, in the 10th and 11th segments, a pair of thin-walled, non-pulsatile, non-muscular, loop-like broad vessels without walls are presented. These anterior loops convey blood from lateral esophageals to supraesophageals. This is the blood vascular systems. Just now we discussed about septonephridial branch and ventral nerve cord, and here it is a peritima. The blood vascular system in the segments presented up behind 30th segment. A part of body wall on the left side has been cut and reflected in the order to expose the blood cells in position. Here in the down figure, you can see the heart of earthworm. Uh, the first uh, the first picture depicts the lateral heart, and the second one that depicts the lateroesophageal heart. Here you can see the dorsal vessel and the walls and ventral vessel. Um, and when coming to the circulation of blood, the circulation of blood through different vessels is carried out by the peristaltic contraction of heart. In front of each septum, there is a pair of ring valves which directly uh, the blood forward or backward, but prevents the reverse flow. That can prevent the reverse flow. Here you can see the route of blood circulation through different vessels that can be elaborated, that is elaborated in this picture. You can see here from the ventral vessel. Here you can see the dorsal vessel. So it happens from, it is like a circulatory. So from dorsal to gizzard and internal heart 7 to 9. From the gizzard to supraesophageal and lateral esophageal 12th to 13 segments that moves towards to the ventral vessel. In one way it goes to ventrointestinal, in the other way it goes to ventrotegumentary vessel. From there it again goes to two ways. One is posterior body wall and nephridia, and the other way is septa genital organs, anterior body walls, and nephridia, and that in turn connects with the lateral esophageal that already connects with the supraesophageal with the anterior loops, and the subneural vessel that already connects with the commissural vessel that connected lastly with the dorso intestine, all together again connected with the dorsal vessel. Through the dorsal vessel, yes, there is a two, not two, three ways. One is pharynx, esophagus, and pharyngeal nephridia. From there, at the lateral esophageal uh, to the lateral esophageal taken place that goes to the anterior lobes is going to supraesophageal region. Again it connects again in three ways it connected with the ventral vessel. So we can consider this as closed a closed way of a circulatory blood system. Next, excretory system of the earthworm. Here you can see the structure, especially the excretory system of the earthworm. The process of removing the metabolic waste products, including nitrogenous materials like ammonia, urea, uric acid, and amino acids from the body is called as excretion. Excretory systems consisting of nephridia as excretory organ, which is analogous to a kidney of vertebrates. Nephridia are porous, long, thin, and coiled tube which are found in all segments except first three segments. Here you can see the structure, a mouth, a setae, and the brain, and nerve cord, a ganglion. We already discussed about all these things. Again, types of nephridia. According to their position and placement, they are of three types. One is septal nephridia and typical nephridia, that is also in turn called as typical nephridia, a pharyngeal nephridia, and integumentary nephridia. This nephridia, here you can see the structure of nephridia, that is septal nephridia or typical nephridia, which consisting of the apical lobe and nephridial tube, tubule, and it is also containing the twisted loop that has two structures, proximal limb and distal limb, and here you can see the funnel and nephridostome and neck. Here you can see the structure of nephridiostome. This nephridiostome consisting of the upper lip and central cell along with the mouth and lower lip. This is about septal nephridia. These septal nephridia, they are well developed and largest nephridia that are found attached to the both sides of the each intersegmental septum that behind the 15th segment. Each septum has 40 to 50 septal nephridia and they are arranged in two rows. So each septum has 80 to 100 septal nephridia. This has three parts. Just now you have seen the nephridiostome, also called nephrostome. It is a funnel shape here. Funnel shape and externally ciliated opening into the coelomic cavity. It consisting of a mouth-like opening which is surrounded by a larger upper lip and smaller lower lip. Upper lip is formed by a large central cell and 8 or 9 marginal cells, whereas the lower lip is formed of 4 or 5 compact cells, the lips that have several rows of cilia. Funnel leads into a short and narrow ciliated neck, which is continued into the body of nephridium. Okay. Due to continuous movement of cilia, all the nitrogenous substances of the coelomic fluid are absorbed in the nephridium. When coming to the body, it is the main tubular body part of nephridia, which is coiled around as its axis. It consisting of two parts. Short straight lobe is one half of the twisted loop. It is a short, straight tube which remains attached to the twisted loop. Long twisted loop with a narrow apical lobe. The twisted loop consisting of a proximal and distal limb, which are spirally twisted upon each other. You already have seen that structure, no? This one. We are talking about distal limb and proximal limb and twisted loop that is interconnected with the straight loop. The number of twists varies from 9 to 30. When coming to the terminal duct, it is the part of main body. Only one intracellular canal, proximal limb of the body of nephridium, ends in a short and narrow duct that called as a terminal duct. All the terminal ducts of a segment ends into a short and narrow duct called terminal duct. All the terminal ducts of a segment open into septal excretory duct of their kind. A septal excretory duct collect the excretory products and transfer them into three pairs of intestinal excretory duct. When coming to the nephridial tube, a nephridium which consisting of a essential glandular mass that is presented inside the coiled tubes run that end up in narrow terminal duct that opens into excretory duct and eventually leading to the intestine through the supraintestinal excretory duct. The coiled tubes have four ciliated tracts, one in neck and two in body and one in terminal duct, and there are four parallel tubes in the straight lobes, three in the basal part and two in the apical part of the each limb of a twisted loop and a single tubule in each of the neck and terminal duct. When coming to the function of septal nephridia, the main function of the septal nephridia is we are already discussing from the structure, that is septal nephridia. The duty of septal nephridia is discharge the waste products from the body through the canal and the ducts into the lumen of the intestine. So they are enteronephric. So second one is pharyngeal nephridia. Name itself indicating that uh, They are found as a pair and lie one part in each fourth, fifth, and sixth segments. They are similar to septal nephridia in structure, but they lack nephrostome. A nephrostome that contains short and straight lobe and spirally twisted loop. Lumen has ciliated canal. Here, the terminal nephridial ducts of all the tubules of each segment unites to form a single common pharyngeal duct in each side. They have three pairs of nephridial canal duct. The duct arises from the sixth segment, which opens into the buccal cavity. In a second segment, the ducts of the fourth and fifth segments are opens into the pharynx in the fourth segment. When coming to the function, yes, obviously, they discharge the waste products directly into the buccal cavity and pharynx, from where these are passed outside with undigested food through the anus. So they are called enteronephric nephridia. Yes, we have enteronephric and enteronephric nephridia. And we also have exonephric nephridia. What is that? That is integumentary nephridia. Here we have integumentary nephridia. The detailed structure we studied in the first one. So that's what I didn't showed you that diagram in the second one. So the third one, that is integumentary nephridia, they are attached to the inside side of the body wall of earthworm. From seventh to the last segment, they are smaller than the septal nephridia. Each nephridium is looks like a V shape with short, straight, and low, and that is twisted loop without nephridiostome or funnel. Their lumen has two ciliated canals. Their terminal nephridial ducts are also very short, with the open on the outer surface of the body wall by nephridiocourse. The number of integumentary nephridia that ranges from 200 to 250 in each segment, but in Cletella region, their number is about 2000 to 2500. So, Cletellum is called forest of nephridia. Cletellum is called as forest of nephridia since it contains the Cletella region about like integumentary nephridia, which is ranges about 2000 to 2500. Then the functions of integumentary nephridia. They discharge nitrogenous metabolite waste products directly outside from the body through the nephridiocourse. That's what we call this nephridia as exonephric nephridia. This is about integumentary nephridia. And when coming to the physiology of excretion, uh, since the nephridia is very rich, supplied with the capillary, and they collect the nitrogenous waste material and remove from the body. Here, the nitrogenous waste are thrown out the intervals of 3 days. The beating of the cilia, the movement of the cilia of nephridiostome drives a constant flow of coelomic fluid containing metabolic waste along with some other useful substances. The useful substances are absorbed by the body and the metabolic waste reach the proximal limb of twisted loop from the nephridiostome. Then they are transferred to the distal limb from where it reaches the straight lobe. When the excretory matters move in the nephridia, they are converted into the urea and ammonia. There are that passed into the gut through the supraintestinal excretory duct by enteronephric nephridia or outside by the nephridiopores by exonephric nephridia. Here the earthworms is ureotelic, ureotelic because this um, earthworm, it's a nitrogenous waste matter that consisting of 40 percentage of urea and 20 percentage of ammonia and again 40% of amino acid with other nitrogenous substances. That's what we consider like earthworm is a ureotelic organism. And when coming to the reproductive system of the earthworm, as we already discussed, earthworm is a hermaphrodite uh, because it has both the reproductive organs like a male and female presented in the same organism. But they cannot fertilize their own eggs because of their relative position of the male and female genital aperture, and they are protrandus. Means male sex matures earlier than the female gametes. So cross fertilization taken place. That's what since the male reproductive organs that matures early and the female reproductive organs um, matures later than the male reproductive organs, so called as protranders. Here you can see the structure of a reproductive system in the earthworm. When coming to the male reproductive organs, they consisting of the following parts. As we know, reproductive male reproductive organs contains testis. So here the testis, there are two parts of small white and lobed testis that is located uh, in the 10th and 11th segment. They lie ventro and lateral below the alimentary canal and close to the mid and ventral line on either side of the ventral nerve cord. So each testis consisting of 4 to 8 finger-like projections of possessing this containing the spermatogonia. It is a round cells. They are enclosed with the testis sac. So, what is the function of this testis means? They produce a sperm. So, testis sac. A testis sac that is uh, enclosed by wide and thin walled, whitish structure, and there are two testis sacs presented in the 10th and 11th segment. Testis sac communicates with a pair of seminal vesicles of succeeding segments. The testis sac of 11th segment becomes larger as they enclosed the seminal vesicles of the segment. They developed from the body cavity as a small outgrowth and later become like a sacula. And seminal vesicles, they are large, wide and spherical structure found in two pairs located in 11th and 12th segments. They also called as a septal pouches. They are formed as outgrowths of septum. Seminal vesicles of 11th segment are smaller and are surrounded by testis sac of the same segment and communicates with the testis sac of 10th segment, while those of 12th segment are free and communicate with the testis sac of 11th segment. And what is the function of this seminal vesicle? Spermatogonia under maturation, a division to form a spermatozoa or sperm. The maturation of sperm taken place in seminal vesicle. And spermidacal fluid or spermatic funnel. They are cup-like curvature found in two pairs. They are ciliated sperm funnels lying below each testis in the segmented 10th and 11th segment and enclosed with the same testis sac. The duty of this one is mature sperms from the seminal vesicles that move back to the testis sac and pass through the spermiducal funnel into vasa differentia. And vasa differentia, they are elongated, narrow ciliated thread-like tubular structure which extends from 12th to 18th segment. They are found in two pairs and each pair lay on either side of the alimentary canal. They extended up to 12th to 18th segment. In 18th segment, they join together with a thick prostatic duct and forms a common prostatic and a spermatic duct. The duty of this one is uh, they collect sperms from spermatic funnel and give to the uh, prostate gland. The prostate gland, uh, a gland in male that surrounds and opens into the urethra where it leaves the bladder. There are a pair of large, white, flat, solid, irregular, and lobulated gland extending from 16th to 20th or 17th to 21 segments. Each gland consisting of large glandular part containing many lobules and small non-glandular part consisting of several small ductiles. From each prostate gland emerges a short, thick, curved prostatic duct in 18th segment. The prostatic duct joins the two vasa differentia of its own side, unite to form a common prostatic and spermatic duct. A prostatic duct opens separately through a male genital aperture on the ventral side of 18th segment. Thus, each genital aperture has three apertures, is two of vasa differentia and one of prostatic gland. This is tells us about our complete male reproductive organ. The next one is the female reproductive organ of the earthworm. So the female reproductive organ which contains ovaries, oviducal funnel and oviduct and spermatheca. Spermatheca are also called as seminal receptacles as they store spermatozoa from another worm during the copulation. So, what are they? We'll see. Ovaries. Ovaries, a pair of small, whitish and lobulated uh, ovaries that located in the 13th segments on either side of the ventral nerve cord. Each ovary is consisting of several finger-like projections in which ova are arranged in a linear series in various stages of development, being mature in the distal part and immature in the proximal part. So, the function of ovaries are they form ova. And oviducal funnel below each ovary, there is a small stalker-shaped ovarian funnel with a folded and ciliated margin which leads into a shorter oviduct. The function of oviducal funnel, when ova enter through oviducal funnel and travel backward along the oviduct. Then what is oviduct? The oviduct, the two short conical oviduct lies in 13th and 14th segment, there and posteriorly, and coverage to meet, uh, here you can see, this is coverage. Run posteriorly and coverage to meet below the nerve cord and open by a single medium. A female genital aperture mid-ventrally in 14th segment. The function of oviduct is they collect ova from ovary and give to female genital pore. Spermatheca, there are four pairs in each of 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th segment situated ventrolaterally. Each spermatheca is a funnel-shaped body that consists of pear-shaped ampulla and short narrow neck and a short narrow elongated diverticulum. Spermatheca open outside through four pairs of spermathecal pores situated ventrolaterally in the grooves between 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, and 8 to 9 segments. A spermatheca, already I told you. A spermatheca are also called a seminal receptacle as they store a spermatozoa from another worm during the copulation. So the function of spermatheca, they can store the sperm in the diverticula during the copulation and the ampulla provide nourishment from the for the sperm. So female genital pore, it is a single unpaired, a small pore lies in 14 segment. Copulation, here you can see prostomium and spermathecal pores, clitellum or clitellum, a male pores, a sperm transfer and genital markings and female pores. The spermatozoa of one worm are transferred to another during a process are called as copulation, or the process of transformation of sperms of one worm to the another worm from the uh, cross fertilization is also called as a copulation. A copulation takes place during the rainy season from July to October at night or early in the morning, means at the dawn in the morning before the sunrise. During the copulation, two worms come closer, are ventrally attached in opposite direction. In each, you can see all these in this picture. Copulation, during copulation, I already told you what happens during the copulation. Two earthworms come close together and ventrally attached in the opposite direction in such a way that the male genital pore of one worm lie opposite to the spermatical pore of other. Both worms remain united together by secretions of accessory glands and also by mutual penetration of CTA taken place in each other's body. A sperm and a prostatic fluid of each worms are exchanged in between and released or stored in spermatheca through spermatical pore. The copulation lasts for about 1 hour. Then the worm separate and later, after some day, they lay their eggs in cocoon. Uh, Cocoon formation and fertilization taken place after copulation. When ovaries mature, the epidermis of clitellar region like 14, 15 and 16 containing three kinds of glands. One is a unicellular mucus gland that produces mucus for copulation, and cocoon secreting a gland that secrete the wall of cocoon and also secrete a gelatinous viscid and a sticky substance which form a membrane girdle. Albumin gland, cell-produced albumin, serves for the nourishment of the growing embryo, which is deposited between the girdle and the body wall. The girdle soon harden on exposure to the air into a tough but elastic tube, which called cocoon or egg capsule. Then the worm starts to wriggle behind so that the girdle slipped forward. As the girdle passes over the female genital pore, it receives ova. When it passes through spermatical, it receives sperm through spermatical pores. Finally, the girdle is thrown off from the anterior end, and soon the elasticity of its wall closes up two extended two ends to form a cocoon or ootica. Several cocoons are formed after each copulation because spermatozoa in the spermatheca do not pass out all at one time. Then the cocoon are barrel in shape and light yellow in color. Fertilization means already we discussed a fertilization taken place inside the cocoon where each ovum is fertilized by the sperm. As a rule, there is only one embryo develops. Only one fertilized egg proceeds to develop new individuals and rest degenerated. So the cocoon contains many fertilized eggs, but only one earthworm can release from cocoon. The development is direct, no larval stage. The young worm, when fully grown, crawls out from the cocoon in about 2 to 3 weeks, which resembles the adults except in the size and absence of clitella. So, nervous system. Here, the nervous system of earthworm is well developed. The nervous system of earthworm is well developed. It consisting of three parts: central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and sympathetic nervous system. Here you can see the structure of nervous system with prostomial nerves, peristomial nerves, cerebral ganglion, cut off pharynx, and now to the septum. And here, central nervous system. This part of nervous system lies along the midline of the body. It consists of two parts, nerve ring and ventral nerve cord. Nerve ring and ventral nerve cord. And it has a spherical structure which lies around the pharynx in third and fourth segment, and it consisting of suprapharyngeal ganglia. Here you can see the suprapharyngeal ganglion that is also called as cerebral ganglion. They are bilobed in structure. Here you can see the structure with bilobes. A pair of whitish pear-shaped and suprapharyngeal ganglia fused to form brain that lies dorsally in the third segment in the depression between the buccal cavity and the pharynx, and circumpharyngeal connective tissue or pharyngeal connectives from either side of the suprapharyngeal ganglia here that found in um, fourth segment, and ventrally circumpharyngeal ganglia meet with a pair of subpharyngeal ganglia. Thus, a complete nerve ring is formed around the pharynx. Here you can see the content of the pharynx. Here. So, when coming to the ventral nerve cord, here it is a long, a thread-like a double-layered structure which arises from posterior part of subpharyngeal ganglia and runs the posteriorly up to the last segment of the body, which extends fifth to last segment. So, a nerve cord are two in number. but they are fused, so called as a double ventral nerve cord. It has two swelling bulb-like structure in each segment called segmental ganglia. Here you can see the segmental ganglia. Then a periphery nervous system, those nerves which arise from a different parts of central nervous system called peripheral nervous system. Following parts of nerves arise from the brain, like 8 to 10 pairs of nerves arise from the brain, which can communicate or innervate or supply to prostomium, buccal cavity, and pharynx. 2 pairs of nerve arise from a serum pharyngeal connectives, which supply to the walls of prostomium and peristomium segment. 3 pairs of nerve arises from subpharyngeal ganglia, which supply to the second, third, and fourth segment. 3 pairs of nerves arise from each segmental ganglia, which supply to the various part of segment, gut wall, body wall, and other internal organs. When coming to the sympathetic nervous system, a sensory and motor nervous system that fuse to form a nerve plexus, which moves ventrally through the alimentary canal. These plexus are connected with the peripharyngeal connective tissue. So, finally, what is the economic importance of earthworm? As we already discussed, the earthworms improve the fertility of the soil in different ways, and therefore they are of utmost importance to the agriculture. Actually, the burrowing and soil feeding habit of earthworms make the soil porous, which permit both aeration and quick absorption of water, that permits easy and deeper penetration of the plant roots. They also bring the fresh subsoil to the surface, which is still finer and rich in organic matters. The castings of earthworm containing fine soil, having a mixture with its nitrogenous waste and feces of a nice mineral value. The fecus or feces of earthworm contain a nitrate, a calcium, a magnesium, potassium, and phosphorus, which constitute an important component of the humus, that is essential for the plant growth. They also reduce the alkalinity and acidity of the soil to provide better growth conditions for plant growth. And after their death and decomposition, they increase the organic constitutions of the soil. Thus, the earthworms make the soil fertile to a greater extent. Thus, these worms are also known as a natural plugman, a tillers of the soil, a natural plugman, and tillers of the soil. These are used as a bait and food. As bait, they are used in fishing. The earthworms were used as a food by so many uncivilized people of the world, around the world. They are still used as food. Uh, the earthworms are eaten upon by frogs, toads, moles, and hedgehogs, and birds, which are of mainly useful to mankind. Many people earn their livelihood by catching these worms and supply it to the scientific laboratories. Ayurvedic Unani systems of therapy suggest that these worms were used in making medicines for curing the several diseases like bladder stones, jaundice, and pyorrhea, and piles, rheumatism, and even today there are many studies, and these are used in making various medicines of a vital important in India as well as in other countries. And this is about the economic importance of earthworms. Um, with this, I'm ending with today's topic, and our next topic is we already discussed about vermi technology, so no need of going with vermi technology again and again. So our next topic is enzyme biotechnology that we will discuss at our next class. Okay, with this here I'm ending with today's class.